for parts of it, certainly was in the third quarter, but other parts as well? Or?
Yeah, John, yeah, we do. It's obviously not happy getting beaten by 90 odd points, but it's an interesting wash up because we went in with some targets and some focus areas. That's what we spoke to the boys before. We have, like all clubs, do a measurement for, say, 1%ers in common language, and we had our highest result for the year. So, okay, and that basically, when coaches, that measurement is a measurement of effort, footy effort, if you like. We talked during the week about sort of hunting the footy and wanting to share the footy. I think we hit 300 disposals for the first time for the year. We realised with the talent that they had around the midfield that stoppages was a key, and so we wanted to compete for as long as we could, and we came up with a few strategies for that, and in the end I think only got us by a handful. And we were really keen to be consistent with our tackling effort, and we were okay in that area, John, and we realised the last thing you see is the scoreboard, and the underlying message to the players was that's the foundation of playing good footy that needs to be ingrained, and that shows when you're a developing side where you're at when you get to play one of the better ones going around. That's I don't know, it's a bit weird to wash up, I suppose.
Is there a midfield issue, Mark, that you're just overwhelmed with the numbers and you haven't really got much depth through there?
Yeah, well, I think Steve-O there, look, we are a developing side, we know that, and you guys know as well as I do through the midfield. We rely on guys like, well, for example, I think between Nathan Jones and David Roden, we had 32 contested possessions and 20 clearances between two guys. That's probably a little bit abnormal, but as well as those two played. And we rely heavily on guys like Michael Evans and Matt Jones to provide us with run and provide us with a number of disposals. And that's when you look at it from week to week. But those two in particular are going to be particularly good players. We think that we've got a great confidence in, say, Dean Turlick over time to move him up the ground. But for his development, he's played 9 AFL games. He's consistently, metres going, playing consistently gets the footy. He reads it really well. Over time, he'll move in there. But we get measured a lot week to week. I don't know if we're going to say, listen, we need to rely on Matt Jones, Dean Turlick, and Michael Evans to come into the midfield. But that's development. I suppose that's one of the reasons that you guys to ask about motivation and the players that they're realistic and know where they are, and they can play. But it obviously takes a bit of time.
Is that the frustrating thing that you can see the development, but people calling for your head, the pressure is on, it might not get that time?
Well, I suppose that external stuff, that only impacts on the club and only impacts on me and say Dawesy. But if you let it, we're realistic. We know exactly in terms of where we are with experience, and that the current group. We identified a few things when we all arrived. One of the areas that we wanted to get right, we put a lot of money, a lot of resources into recruiting. The boys have had one crack at the draft in our time, and what we see from that draft is some really good talent, and it's also mixed with some great work ethic and guys that Todd found almost at the back of the draft, like a Matt Jones and a Turley. They're going to be a lot better than what we all feel.
One of the biggest reasons why the pressure's been building externally is because of the efforts of the players. They haven't been up to standard, and that's the nature of footy. Is the media, supporters, they're instantly going to start asking questions of the head coach. Anybody with a football brain and anybody involved within the club can see that it's a mess that the players have got us into. We're starting to take responsibility for that now. Tonight, was one of the first steps, and whilst the scoreboard doesn't reflect it, our 1% count, all those sorts of things, there was genuine care there. And just by watching the game take steps out of it, I reckon you could see that too.
Mark, when given the opportunity tomorrow to speak, what message will you deliver?
I'll be the same. Now, again, it was funny. I'm doing, with no disrespect to anyone in the room, my consumption of media sort of dwindled a little bit in the last little bit. But one of the fans actually asked me that on the way in. and they nearly fell over when I said, this is actually the 18th board meeting that I will be attending. I go to one every month. I'm there for about 30 minutes, have a general chat about things. All the presentations that I give about the focus areas that we're working on, the ones that I went through with Ralphie at the start of the press conference and the development, they're really keen to know of the 14 new players that we brought into the club last November, how they're tracking, those types of things. They want to know. I'll have to give them a report on Viney's foot and how Tumpus has now played a couple of, we want him back, and we knew that we had to go through him. He had a couple of hip operations at the back of the set. It'll just be about that. They want to know how Jesse Hogan is tracking along those parts of the development. That'll form a fair bit of the conversation. So that's just it.
So it's not you sure it's all external? So people are speculating you might actually get the sack for them tomorrow or next week. Are you certain that's just not true?
Well, I've had what I would consider normal conversations with the CEO, normal conversations with the president and the board members, and that hasn't been indicated to me.
Chris touched upon the fact that the players have begun to turn this around. Will you implore the board tomorrow, and I'm mindful it's a normal board meeting, you say, but will you implore them to stay the course and stick with you?
If I ask the question, absolutely. It's pretty clear. We've got a really clear vision where we're going. We've got a really clear pathway that we're following, and we haven't hidden that from anybody, including you. And we believe that we're assembling a really good list that will take us forward. And we're not hiding from the fact that we're particularly upset to get beaten by that much, but we're realistic as well. We're running around with a development team, a dozen or so guys under 50. We want to get better than that, but I think most people are pretty realistic.
How do you see at this stage the group of the new players that you spoke of yesterday? How do you see how they're going at the moment?
I won't go through all 14 of them, but collectively I said about those. So the Matt Joneses, I know Evans didn't play last year, so he wasn't drafted, but we've got a lot of confidence in Dean Turley. He's already displayed that he's a ready-made AFL player, so that's particularly good. We use pick 3 to get Jesse Hogan, and we know that he can't play this year, and that's something that, right now, I popped down to Sandringham yesterday and watched him play, and my emotions standing with Craig, he sort of went from absolute excitement to frustration, thinking he's playing pretty well again. We'll just have to leave him there for 6 months. We knew who's the other one? Tumpus. We took a pick 4. He was highly rated. We thought he's one of the clearly probably at that pick the best player we had. We knew that his first year we had to sort of nurse him through. We had 2 hip operations at the back, so that's all right. We're another young. Who else we got in there? Don Barry picked up Dawsey. I reckon he was pretty good. He's third or 4th game today. I reckon we saw a leader there. He's taken a dozen marks. So that's the on-field performance. The off-field performance, and again, I get asked a lot about what are you going to try and do? Do you sell hope or whatever you do? I thought, we've got a talented group of young players who walked through the door last November. They brought with themselves a terrific attitude to want to be good, and they're being led by, again, a group of young players really well. So I suppose talent plus good work ethic and good leadership equals hope and equals a way out.
So Dawsey just sort of questioned the effort. Well, you seem to have been having a crack this year, Mark. Do you believe there's times where the players haven't put in 100%?
There was one day against Gold Coast that our tackling was poor, so then that led to 6 days, Steve-O, of people claiming the boys didn't have a crack. So we were poor in our tackling performance and our defensive efforts against Gold Coast, but that's probably the one that sort of stuck in people's minds, mate.
The effort's been poor at times, but just performance has been poor, and part of that is basic skill areas which we can't afford, especially when we're a young group. And say tonight, with all our key indicators, we competed, but then sloppy errors undid us. Hawthorn, a quality side, likely top 4 side, they made us pay, and that's the standard we've got to get to.
Mark, Don and Peter Jackson have both spoken about implementing some sort of structural changes to the footy department that could help it improve. But you're going to go to the board with your own ideas on how
Yeah, no, I haven't been asked about that. I'll leave that to Don and Peter.
So mate, you'd be absolutely shocked not to see out the year, given that, you know, some people have written your certainty to be sacked, and yet it's just, you know, there are so many positive improvements. It seems like there are two different elements to the story.
Yeah, well, I suppose there's always the internal reality and the external perception, Ralphie, and the criteria and the plan that when we got together as a group, you know, if we're being judged on that, you know, that's what it is, mate. You know, we came in and first priority was, you know, training standards and AFL lifestyle, if you like. Second one was player leadership. Third one was recruiting, and within the recruiting, in brackets, go young.
Training standards are elite. I can say that confidently, having been at a premiership side. Leadership's developing, and recruitment, time will tell.
I suppose, Ralphie, if the criteria was to have won 12 games by now, I don't reckon we would have taken Jesse Hogan at pick 3. We sure as hell wouldn't have taken a kid that had 2 hip operations at pick 4. But again, that's the external, internal, constant communication. As much as I like you both, I don't have as much communication with you guys as I do with the board.
All right. Any more? No, good. Thank you.